Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, councils. I will kindly request that we all take our seats. The bench is almost here. Please let us all take our seats as we wait for the bench.
Okay, wonderful.
The Honorable Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, Honorable Justice Martha Koome, the Honorable Bench present, the judges of the Court of Appeal, judges of the High Court present, the Honorable Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, the Honorable Deputy Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, the representative of the Attorney General of Public Prosecutions, the President of the Law Society of Kenya, senior counsel and advocates present, members of the family of the late senior counsel Simani Sangare, the late senior counsel Kenneth Fraser, the late senior counsel Judith Thongori, judicial officers and staff present, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We gather here this afternoon for a special tribute session in honor of three extraordinary individuals, Senior Counsel Simani, Senior Counsel Kenneth Fraser, and Senior Counsel Judith Thongori. Each of them in their own distinct way greatly contributed to shaping the legal landscape of our country. They were distinguished legal practitioners held in deep respect across the legal fraternity, for their brilliant minds, unwavering integrity, and lifelong commitment to justice and the rule of law. It is a long-standing tradition in the legal profession to honor the lives of those who have served with distinction. Today's special session gives us that opportunity, not to just deeply reflect on the achievements and contribution of these three senior counsel, but to also remember their character and integrity, the values they stood for, their unwavering commitment to justice, as well as the impact they had in the growth of the legal profession. And with those few remarks, it is now my pleasure and privilege to invite the Honorable Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, Honorable Justice Martha Koome, to preside over these proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Registrar, Supreme Court, Honorable Letitia Wachira, my colleagues, honorable judges and judicial officers, the honorable representative of the Attorney General, the DPP, the President of the Law Society, members of the Senior Counsel Bar present, including the chairperson of the Senior Counsel Bar, family members of our departed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Before you is the tribute bench, presided over by myself, the Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya. My name is Martha Koome. I'm joined on the bench by the Honorable Lady Justice, Justice Grace Genye, Judge of the Court of Appeal, the Honorable Mr. Justice Baira Mongaya, the Principal Judge, Environment and Labor Relations Court, and on my left, the Honorable Mr. Justice Oscar Anthony, is it? No, I think I got it right. I got it wrong. I'm joined also by the Honorable Mr. Justice Oscar Angote, the Principal Judge, Environment and Land Court, and the Honorable Mr. Justice Anthony Murima, Judge of the High Court and a Commissioner at the Judicial Service Commission. This is the tribute bench. We are presiding over these proceedings, which are a celebration of the life of our departed Senior Counsel, Simani Sangare, Mr. Kenneth Harrison Fraser, and Mrs. Judith Thongori, who were remarkable legal giants whose wisdom, brilliance, upon the Honorable Registrar of the Supreme Court to call out the matters which are listed in the cause list this afternoon.
The first matter, which is miscellaneous application number 2 of 2025. This is a special closing file of proceedings in honor of Senior Counsel Simani Sangare. Supreme Court miscellaneous application number 3 of 2025. Special closing file proceedings in honor of the late Senior Counsel Kenneth Harrison Fraser. Supreme Court miscellaneous application number 4. Special closing of file proceedings in honor of the late Senior Counsel Judy Thongori. I now invite the Honorable Chief Justice to take over the proceedings.
Lady, the Chief Justice and the standing bench, allow me to write on the protocol established by the Registrar of the Supreme Court and also the chairperson of the Closing of Files Committee. And before I proceed, Your Ladyship and the presiding bench, allow me to make an application for presentation of the files. My lady, we've been told that before the bench are 3 Supreme Court miscellaneous application files. That's application number 1, number 2 of 2025. Supreme Court miscellaneous application number 3 of 2025. And Supreme Court miscellaneous application number 4 of 2025. My lady, the 3 applications bear striking similarities and almost similar in substance, considering that they are for closing of files. They are in respect of closing of files for our departed 3 colleagues. Having made that application, Your Ladyship, it is also my application that Supreme Court miscellaneous application number 2 of 2025 be the lead file in these proceedings.
(2025) and application number 4/2025. Since there is no objection raised, we find it just and expedient to allow the application as sought. We therefore order that the 3 applications herein be consolidated and shall be handled and disposed of together, and miscellaneous application number 2/2025 shall form the lead file.
Much obliged to Your Ladyship and the presiding bench. Allow me to make short opening remarks on behalf of the Office of the Attorney General. And Your Ladyship, it is a great privilege for the Honorable Attorney General, who is the titular head of the legal profession, to prosecute these special tribute proceedings in honor of our departed senior counsel. Indeed, Your Ladyship, the Honorable Attorney General expresses our deepest gratitude to Your Ladyship and the members of this bench and the entire judiciary for facilitating these tribute proceedings. Your Ladyship, the tradition of closing of files is an ancient and venerated tradition in the legal profession by which members gather to mark and honor the contribution that departed members made to the profession during their lifetime. It is therefore right and befitting that this special tribute court should sit today to reflect on the legacies of the late Simani Sagale, Senior Counsel, Kenneth Allison Fraser, Senior Counsel, and Judith Thongori, Senior Counsel. Your Ladyship and members of the bench, the 3 departed Senior Counsel had a significant impact on the law and the administration of justice, as will become evident from the speakers who will address this court after me. Indeed, available literature demonstrates that the three senior counsel bequeathed to the profession a rich legacy of jurisprudence in different areas of law. For instance, Senior Counsel Simani Sagale ably demonstrated the role of lawyers as social engineers when he used his skills to understand his Tiriki community and documented the same in a book titled Tiriki Community Customs and Traditions. My lady, when we were reading in our legal studies, we were told lawyers are social engineers and they influence society. That's a big contribution by a senior counsel. For Kenneth Allison Fraser, senior counsel, he was a prolific commercial law practitioner who was involved in some of the groundbreaking decisions on banking law and also commercial law. Judy Thongori, senior counsel, she was a legal titan who immensely contributed to the growth of family law and the rights of women. Your ladyship and members of the bench, it is for these reasons that we gather today as a profession to honor the distinguished careers and legacies of senior counsels Simani Sangale, Kenneth Fraser, senior counsel, and Judith Thongori, senior counsel. Honorable Chief Justice and members of the bench, on behalf of the Honorable Attorney General, the Solicitor General, and the entire Office of the Attorney General and State Department for Justice, Human Rights and Constitutional Affairs, we extend our sincere and heartfelt condolences to the family and friends of our departed colleagues, senior counsel. May God grant our departed senior counsel eternal rests, and may he bless their families. Much obliged to your ladyship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mutinda, for your submissions. I now invite Ms. Brinda Mwanza, Senior Assistant Director of Public Prosecution, to make remarks on behalf of the Director of Public Prosecutions.
Your Ladyship, the Chief Justice, judges of the bench, allow me also to write on the protocols already established. My name is Magdalene Galuka. I apologize for the mix-up with the names. And I will be paying the tribute on behalf of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. It is a profound honor to join you this afternoon as we pay tribute to three of our profession's most dedicated servants, the late senior counsel, Simani Sangale, Kenneth Allison Fraser, senior counsel, and Judy Thongori, senior counsel. And we thank you, your ladyship, for convening this most solemn ceremony. So on behalf of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, allow me to extend our deepest condolences to the family, our friends, counsels present, who mourn these exemplary lawyers. And we gather here today, not only to mark the closing of their files, but also to celebrate lives defined by integrity, courage, and unwavering commitment to justice. For Simani Sangale, he was a person embodied by the spirit of service. With over 4 decades at the bar, he was a tireless advocate for rural communities, ensuring that no litigant, however marginalized, was barred from a fair hearing. His mentorship of junior practitioners established traditions of pro bono service that continue to flourish even today. Kenneth Allison Fraser distinguished himself through the fearless challenge of constitutional boundaries. His reasoning in landmark judgments reshaped administrative law and strengthened the separation of powers beyond courtrooms. He was a trusted advisor in national policy forums, bringing legal clarity to complex public sector reforms. Judy Thongori broke barriers at every turn. As one of the nation's first female senior counsel, she opened doors for generations of women in law. Her leadership of the Women Judges Association and her advocacy for gender-responsive legislation advanced equality in ways that will stand as her enduring legacy. Each of these senior counsels shared a singular gift, being the ability to see the law as a living instrument for reform, and not merely as a set of rules. They stood at different times as pillars of professionalism, upholding the rule of law under pressure, guiding colleagues through ethical dilemmas, and reminding all of us that justice demands both skill and compassion. So today, as we close their files, let us also recommit ourselves to the values they lived by. May we carry forward Simani Sangale's compassion for the vulnerable, Kenneth Fraser's fearless pursuit for constitutional truth, and Judy Thongori's passionate championing for equality. In doing so, we honor their memory not only in words, but in every case, every brief we draft, and for every litigant that we serve. Your Ladyship, we salute the judiciary for giving this space to reflect on these remarkable lives, and to the organizing committee, thank you for ensuring that this tribute befits their status. And to all of us here, thank you for your presence, your prayers, and your resolve to build on the foundation that they laid. May their memories be a guiding light to us all. Thank you, and most obliged.
Thank you very much, Madam Magdalene, for your submissions on behalf of the Director of Public Prosecutions. It is now my honor to invite the President of the Law Society, Ms. Faith Odhiambo, to invite Senior Counsel Bar and other speakers from the Law Society and from the legal profession to make their remarks.
The Honorable Justice Martha Koome, Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, the Honorable Lady Justice Grace Ngenye, Judge of the Court of Appeal, the Honorable Mr. Justice Byram Ongaya, Principal Judge, Employment, Labor and Labor Relations Court, the Honorable Mr. Justice Oscar Ngote, Presiding Judge, Environmental and Land Court, the Honorable Mr. Justice Anthony Mrima, High Court Judge. It is my honor to now invite the Chair of the Senior Counsel Bar, Mr. Philip Murgo, Senior Counsel, to commence the process of tributes by the Senior Counsel Bar.
Thank you, Madam President. Your Ladyship, the Honorable the Chief Justice, Martha Koome, Your Ladyship, Justice Grace Ngenye of the Court of Appeal, Your Ladyship, Your Lordship, Justice Ongaya, Justice Oscar Ngote, Justice Anthony Mrima. Gives me great pleasure and privilege to be before you today for the purposes of this proceedings, for which, on behalf of the Senior Counsel Bar, we are extremely not only humbled and grateful. Happy in one sense and sad in another sense, because we are closing 3 files shortly after closing another file. And I'm sure I can see everyone asking how many are left. I want to say, Your Ladyship, the Senior Counsel Bar is in attendance in strength, and permit me to quickly call them out. We have the founder members, Amos Wako, and the founding chairman. We have Paul Wamai. We have Waweru Gatonye. We have Omesh Kapila. We have Martha Karua. We have all senior counsels, of course, Lucy Kambuni. We have Kevin McCourt. We have Buta Siganga. We have Wilfred Nderitu. We have Justice Patricia Nyaundi, who you have borrowed for a short time. She normally sits with us. We have Joyce Majiwa, and the one who prides himself as being the youngest, Charles Kanjama. So, Your Ladyship, we are here in numbers. And for the purposes of division of labor, unless there's anybody I've forgotten, it is our idea to have each tribute read out by a different senior counsel. And I would like to now call upon, for the first file, I would like to call upon Martha Karua. That is in honor of Simani Sangale.
May it please the court and all riding on the protocols previously established, esteemed members of the judiciary, colleagues, family, and friends. It is both a profound honor and deep solemn duty to stand before you today as a fellow senior counsel to pay tribute to a man who was not only a titan of our profession, but also a brother in arms, Senior Counsel Simani Sangale. As we gather for this closing of file ceremony, we do not merely mark the end of a career. We celebrate a life that illuminated the path of justice, enriched our cultural heritage, and inspired us all to strive for excellence. Having walked some of the same halls as Simani, I feel both the weight of his loss and the pride of his legacy. Simani's journey in the law began with a spark of brilliance. He was called to the bar at Gray's Inn in 1965 with an LLB honors and was admitted to the Kenyan bar on December 18, 1968, as one of the first lawyers from the Tiriki community. He was a trailblazer who carried his heritage with pride. His early days as a pupil under the Attorney General in the AG's chambers were marked by quiet determination and sharp intellect. These qualities laid the foundation for a career that would span decades and touch countless lives. From the AG's chambers, his path led him into the oil industry, where he excelled in various roles. This is proof of his versatility
and commitment to excellence beyond the courtroom. Yet the law remained his true calling. In 1975, he was elected chairman of the Law Society of Kenya, serving with integrity and vision through a pivotal chapter in our profession. Later, he founded S. Sangale Advocates, a firm that became synonymous with diligence and excellence. Until his passing on June 10, 2024, he practiced law with a passion that made him not only a respected advocate, but also a mentor to many. But Simani's legacy extends far beyond the law. He was a proud son of the Tiriki community who poured his heart into preserving its soul through his book, Tiriki Community Customs and Traditions. Through years of research and oral history, he wove together the stories of his people, challenging colonial distortions and ensuring that the Tiriki culture would endure. This was more than just scholarship. It was an act of love for his heritage and a gift to future generations. His courage also led him into the political arena, where he vied for a parliamentary seat, driven by the belief that service to Kenya must be pursued not only through law, but also through leadership. In all these endeavors, his guiding principle was a deep and abiding commitment to justice and to his nation. As we close the file on Simani Sangale's earthly journey, we carry forward the light of his example. To his family, we share in your grief, but also in your immense pride. You gave us a man who was a devoted son, husband, father, and a giant in our profession. To my fellow advocates, let us honor him by upholding the values he lived by: integrity, diligence, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. His elevation to senior counsel in 2003 was not merely a personal accolade, but a recognition of a life lived in service of the law and of Kenya. In the stillness of this moment, I'm reminded of Rumi's timeless words: beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. End of quotes. Simani has crossed into that eternal field, leaving us with the gift of his example and the challenge to carry it forward. May his soul rest in eternal peace, and may we, inspired by his life, continue to build a just and vibrant Kenya. Thank you.
May I now call upon the next speaker to give the tribute for Kenneth Allison Fraser, Senior Counsel Kevin McCourt.
May it please this tribute bench, I intend to rely on all the protocols already given. I also intend to submit before this bench the bio that is already on your file, and to read a tribute that I prepared myself. This is a tribute to Senior Counsel Kenneth Allison Fraser. Ken Fraser, or KF, to an elite group of colleagues at Hamilton, Harrison, and Matthews, would have done everything possible to avoid these proceedings. He disliked being the center of attention or any pomp and ceremony relating to him. Death had a different view. He was an intensely private and humble individual whose personality attracted loyalty and friendship from a large, diverse group of people who he interacted with. A consummate professional, a brilliant legal mind, and most importantly, I underscore that, a fair and just practitioner of the art of law. Ken Fraser was meticulous in his preparation and presentation of his cases. Thoroughness was his trademark. He also willingly gave his time and skill to improve the administration of justice in Kenya. He was a founder of the Court User Committee with the Honorable Lady Justice Hannah Okwengo more than 30 years ago. My Lady Chief Justice, your office is still to approve that operation that we started 30 years ago. But I think Justice Apolu failed to sign the letter. He was an active participant in the concept of case management, although he detested written submissions, preferring the skill of oral advocacy. Ken was a guru in commercial litigation. His clients, colleagues, and even opposing counsel greatly admired his ability to make the most complex case appear easy to resolve. All this work was done quietly, without complaint, and allowed some of us to receive unearned accolades. Now that we have praised the man, let me remark on one foible I enjoyed teasing him on. Ken Fraser was fastidious when it came to his mode of transport. I think in modern terms, his ride. It had to be a Mercedes-Benz. His car was always pristine, both inside and outside, and its mileage was always low, as he probably only did 1,000 kilometers a year, namely home and office. I noticed he hardly ever used the firm transport, and once when I gave him a ride in my Toyota, he expressed concern for my taste. This disease, unfortunately, of the Mercedes-Benz or the Wabenzi is something that may be in the senior counsel bar, but I'll digress there. Ken was also a diehard fan of the Chelsea Football Club. Rumor has it that on Monday mornings at Hamilton, Harrison Matthews were filled with him jeering at his colleagues whose teams had lost matches over the weekend, or with him walking sheepishly into his office hoping not to be bullied because his team had not won. This would have been a good week for him since Chelsea is sitting at number 2 on the table behind the mighty Liverpool. There is another thing that I have to raise. Ken had a very sweet tooth. And I was told that there was a lunch today at which there were a lot of cakes. Again, death had a different view. There is much to share about the person Kenneth Allison Fraser was, and there are many people who would love to replace me here. So let me end by saying that to my knowledge, and I wish the bench to attest, Ken Fraser never lost a case in his practicing lifetime. However, his clients might have lost a few. Rest in peace, Senior Counsel Kenneth Allison Fraser. Thank you.
It's now my privilege to call upon the third senior counsel to provide the third tribute in honor of Judy Thongori, senior counsel. I call upon Lucy Kambuni.
May it please your leadership, the Chief Justice, Martha Koome. Again, I will write on the protocols already cited, save, of course, to make special mention of Judy's family, our colleague, John Thongori, our soon-to-be colleague, Wairimo Thongori. Wairimo, we are waiting for you because your mother must see the light of practice that she left behind in your hands. Amen. And Eric Thongori. Now, Judy Thongori, senior counsel, she also held the national honor of EBS, that is an elder of the burning spear. And I always say, that is a very special title because it means an elder of the burning spear. It means you are burning, you're carrying it in the profession, you are carrying it in the national space, and also in your community and in the home. And I am certain, because I have known Judy for many, many years, ever since we started out in practice, Judy carried that burning spear with courage and with joy, and she was a most impactful colleague. Let me read her bio. Senior Counsel Judy Wanjeri Thongori was admitted as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya on 9th December 1988, following her studies at the University of Nairobi. She undertook her pupillage under Mr. Fred Namisi at Namisi and Company Advocates, where she was trained in the practice, business, and discipline of the profession. Her career path was as diverse as it was impactful. She began at the Attorney General's Chambers in 1989, later served at Mudhoga Gaturu and Company Advocates, Dongo Njoroge and Kwach Advocates, and the International Federation of Women Lawyers. And I recall when she worked at FIDA, we met many times outside chambers at the High Court, now the Supreme Court. And I remember Judy telling me, that she would launch her private practice. But this really working for FIDA did open up for her an excellent path in our family law that she really, really loved. And that's the reason she went to FIDA in the first place. In 2003, she founded her own firm, Judy Thongori and Company Advocates, which she led with distinction until her passing. Throughout her career, which spanned over 3 decades, Senior Counsel Judy Wanjeri Thongori established herself as a leading voice in family law. Her work combined technical brilliance with compassion, always guided by the principle that the law must serve the dignity of the human person. She championed fairness, empathy, and justice, and gave voice to the vulnerable, particularly women and children. She also mentored very many young advocates, generously sharing her time, knowledge, and wisdom to nurture the next generation of the bar. She was at the forefront of legal reform. Her contribution to the Matrimonial Property Act of 2013 and the Marriage Act of 2014 was historic. And these statutes continue to transform family relations in Kenya. In addition, her litigation against the government of Kenya on the enforcement of the constitutional requirement of 30% representation of women remains a defining milestone in the struggle for equality. Her work extended beyond the courtroom and beyond Kenya's borders. Senior Counsel Judy Wanjeri Thongori used every platform available to demystify family law and make it accessible to the public. Radio, television, print media, and the Law Society's continuing professional development programs. She provided training to police officers to improve their handling of domestic violence cases. She shared her expertise internationally, providing legal opinions in the United Kingdom, France, and the Netherlands, thereby influencing the global discourse on family law and the protection of children's rights. Her excellence was formally recognized by the profession. In 2013, she was the first woman inducted into the Roll of Honor of the Law Society of Kenya. In 2020, she was elevated to the rank of Senior Counsel, the pinnacle of our professional recognition for advocates of the High Court of Kenya. Now, Judy was not only a very dear colleague in the senior bar, but she was also my neighbor. And we had this running joke with Judy. Every time we met, she would ask me, "Are your bananas there? When can I come for the bananas?" Now, truly, when you see the bananas hanging, you know, when you pass by the road and you see those bananas in my compound, please just come and pick those bananas, because we kept talking about these bananas with Judy, but she didn't pick them up. But there is something that she did that was very endearing. Her son, Eric, loves vintage cars. And so Judy asked me, your relative and his vintage cars, when can Eric come and have a look at them? And Eric came and looked at the vintage cars. And the other thing I remember about Judy was on the 26th of November, the year before she passed. And actually, a few months before she passed, we had met at some solemn occasion. We lost a common friend, and we sat next to each other. And you know how the pastor always asks, if you were to depart today, do you know where you would go? I say, ask your neighbor. And we would look at each other with Judy, high five. Judy, if we were to go today, you know, where would we be? And we had a very happy conversation. And we also discussed, you know, how does the decade look like after the many years of practice? And Judy told me, you know, I have a succession plan. And I have built very effective legal practitioners who I support. And she told me, in 2028, that is my year. I will ease up on practice and do several other things that I have a passion for. But I guess the Lord God Almighty had another plan for Judy. Our friend, rest easy, rest in peace. We will miss you in the senior council bar. Our chair, Philip, here will confirm just how many times we sat, just the three of us, having a cup of coffee and just discussing what we would like to see in the senior council bar. May you rest in peace. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Lucy. On my part, as you can all see, I'm very young. I might not have interacted with the late Sangale Simani, so I wouldn't say much about him. And it was quite a challenge to find somebody who had. I asked Senior Amos Wako to do so, and you'll be surprised, he said he didn't have his glasses. What an excuse. He specified his reading glasses. Anyhow, Senior Martha Karua is never one to turn down a challenge. And she said, bring it on. And we have to thank her for that. Now, I want to just say one or two things about the other two departed colleagues. I'll start with Kenneth Allison Fraser. He was my pupil master. And he was everything that Kevin says he was. So particular was he that, and so detailed that it was very difficult to keep up with him. I would attribute a certain measure of what I became in the teachings that I had from Mr. Fraser. And I want to remember one case that he lost. But he didn't lose. His client lost. ICA building where Hamilton, Harrison, and Matthews was housed for a long time was put up by ICA, and it was the best building at the time. And his client, ICA, decided they paid too much for it. And when they asked the consultants and the contractor, they were told, but here it is, this is what it cost. So the the owners went and found a good Kenyan who said that we could have done the same job with less steel, with less this, with less that, so you overpaid. So a person who had an exceptionally strong building went and sued because it cost a bit more. So I watched Mr. Fraser struggle before a Kenyan judge who never quite understood the case. You have a good building, the best in town, and you have come to complain. Naturally, he lost. He was almost happy to lose, but the client was the one who had to live with it. I'm not sure whether it went up on appeal. As for my sister Judy, Judy and I were great friends. We spoke so often that quite often when I was speaking to her in the evening, he ensured I spoke to her husband as well, just to make it clear that it was nothing more than, good friendship. Judy and I did many cases together. And as was said in the tributes during her funeral, she settled most of them. But whenever the battle got highly contested, bitter, and so on, Judy would always ask somebody else to help. And I think no prizes for guessing why she chose me sometimes. But in another case that I'd like to refer to, just after the promulgation of the new constitution, there was the challenge to the composition of the first Supreme Court. The challenge was that it was not compliant as far as the gender composition was concerned. And at that point in time, gender activists like Judy were feeling that the new constitution had come, but it was still another raw deal. Once again, the other gender were grabbing, what was it, 2/3 point something, and making it non-compliant. And I recall one discussion we had. I was also on her side, as a matter of fact. So we were arguing the same case before 2 gentlemen judges and 1 lady judge. Everyone, including the lady judge, ruled against us. But one conversation I remember was in the corridors with Senior Counsel Paul Muite. And Muite was happily on the gender side, the male gender side. And he was most unsympathetic. And we were standing in the corridors and I said to Paul Muite, I don't think you can see the signs of the times. Here you are almost arrogantly insisting that it's just too bad if they don't like it. It's a man's world. That was the effect of the argument. But don't you see? Look at the magistracy. Look at the High Court. Look at the numbers. Look at the Martha Koome coming. And they were coming. And we said to Paul, one day, you on behalf of the male gender will be begging for the 1/3. Before Judy passed on, that day came to pass. And today we have a CJ. And there we were saying, the DCJ must be a man. No one listened. DCJ is a lady. Oh, this is the justice sector. The AG must be a man. Hiyo ikaenda. Surely the CRJ must be a man. Kaenda. So we went to the electorate in the Law Society and said, please give us a man. We can't have faith. And we also lost that. I'm looking for Paul Muite, I can't find him. So that is the way of the world. That was Judy, a compassionate soul, a wonderful soul. She was everything that a senior counsel should be. And for those who aspire to become senior counsels, she was one of those who always said, somehow we should get to the point where we interview those who apply for senior counsel to ask them if they understand that upon becoming senior counsel, it is the beginning of a new type of service, giving much more than you're taking for yourself. So for that, those of us who sit on the committee, we hope we can get to that point so that we ask the magic question. What is it that you want to contribute to society? So having said those few words, I wish to once again thank the bench led by Your Ladyship, the Chief Justice, for convening this special session, and on my own behalf and on behalf of the Senior Counsel Bar, support fully the motion of the Honorable Attorney General for the order sought. Thank you.
I'd like to invite the chair of Nairobi branch, Mr. Eric Kivuva.
Honorable Chief Justice and the President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, Honorable Martha Koome, all protocols observed, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. It is indeed a great honor to be participating in these proceedings today as we formally close the files of three remarkable senior counsel whose legacies continue to shape Kenyan jurisprudence. Their dedication to justice, mentorship of emerging lawyers, and unwavering integrity have left an indelible mark on our legal community. Today, we remember and celebrate their lives and contributions. Senior Counsel Kenneth Allison Fraser devoted over 50 years to the advancement of fair and efficient legal processes in Kenya's appellate and commercial courts. As a key member of both the Court of Appeal Bar Bench Committee and the High Court Commercial and Tax Division Bar Bench Committee, he championed procedural reforms that accelerated dispute resolution without sacrificing the quality of justice. With unwavering diligence and a tireless commitment to excellence, Kenneth Fraser mentored countless lawyers, helping shape law firms and generational shifts in legal practice. Beyond his formidable intellect, he was a trusted leader, a patient teacher, a loyal friend whose guidance will continue to inspire us. Senior Counsel Simani Sangale bridged the worlds of law and culture, earning distinction as one of the first senior counsel from the Tiriki subgroup of the lawyer community. His legal acumen was matched only by his passion for documenting and preserving Tiriki traditions, embodied in his seminal work, Tiriki Community Customs and Traditions. Rooted in native language interviews and lived experiences, his scholarship offered an authentic insider's perspective on initiation rights, community leadership, and the evolving place of custom in modern Kenya. As both advocate and cultural custodian, Simani forged a path that honored heritage while embracing progress. Senior Counsel Judy Thongori, her impact on family law and mediation reshaped how Kenyan courts approach family disputes. Appointed Senior Counsel in the year 2020 and the first woman to be inducted into the Law Society's Roll of Honor in 2013, she brought compassion and innovation to the High Court Family Division. A certified family mediator and member of the Judiciary's Mediation Accreditation Committee, Judy played a pivotal role on the Chief Justice's task force that established the Family Division in Nairobi. Her leadership on the bar bench committees and dedication to alternative dispute resolution set new standards for fairness and empathy in our courts. As we close the files of Senior Counsel Kenneth Fraser, Senior Counsel Simani Sangale, and Senior Counsel Judy Thongori, let us carry forward their dedication to excellence, mentorship, and the seamless integration of tradition and modernity. May their memories challenge us to pursue justice with the same vigor, integrity, and heart. On behalf of the Law Society Nairobi branch, we support the Attorney General's motion. Thank you.
I would like to call the chair of ICJ Kenya, Mr. Protas.
Honorable Justice Martha Koome, Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court of Kenya. Honorable Lady Justice Grace Ngenye, Judge, Court of the Appeal. Honorable Justice Byram Ongaya, Principal Judge in Employment Labor Relations Court. Honorable Justice Oscar Ngote, Presiding Judge, Environment Land Court. Honorable Justice Anthony Mrima, Judge, High Court. Ms. Faith Okiambo, President, Law Society of Kenya. Mr. Philip Murgor, Chair of the Senior Bar. Senior counsels present, colleagues, the families of the departed, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
On behalf of the ICJ Kenya Council and the ICJ Kenya membership, I stand here to join you in this ceremony for the closing of the files of these colleagues who are departed. And as we stand here and mark this occasion, it's not just to mark the conclusion of a case or to close their files, but to pause and honor these three luminaries of our profession who are no longer with us. Simani Sangale, Kenneth Allison Fraser, and Judith Thongori. A lot has been said about the three by colleagues who knew them well. And I will only add a bit because their passing leaves a significant void. And as we reflect on their lives and careers, we are reminded of the profound impact they each had on the practice of law in Kenya. Simani Sangale was a force to be reckoned with in the courtroom, as we have heard, and with his sharp intellect and unwavering dedication, he embodied the spirit of a true advocate. His work, particularly in criminal law, set a high bar for excellence and demonstrated a tireless commitment to the pursuit of justice. Kenneth Allison Fraser, we have heard a lot about him. He was a distinguished senior counsel. He was a pillar of the legal fraternity. He represented the very best of the profession, a man of immense knowledge, impeccable decorum, and deep wisdom. His contributions to corporate and commercial law were foundational, but his legacy extends beyond his casework. He was a mentor to many, and two of them stood here to honor him. And generously, he shared his experiences and helped to shape the next generation of lawyers. His quiet professionalism and steady guidance will be deeply missed. And then there is a formidable Judith Thongori, who has also been talked about here. She was not just a lawyer, but a pioneering advocate for social change. Her practice was synonymous with family law, and in an era where family law was often overlooked, she transformed it into a powerful tool for justice, especially for women and children. Through her tireless work and a voice that was both strong and compassionate, she fought for gender equality and human rights. And that's where sometimes our paths crossed. She left an indelible mark on our legal landscape and society as a whole. Her bravery in challenging the status quo has inspired countless others. So each of these three departed colleagues had a different path, a different specialty, and a different style. But they were united with a common thread, an unshakable belief in the rule of law and a commitment to service. Their lives are a testament to the fact that the practice of law is not merely a profession, but a calling, and a calling to defend, to guide, and to champion justice. As we close their files, let us remember them, and as has been said, let us carry their legacies with us and continue to build a legal system worthy of their dedication. They may have completed their work here on earth, but their influence endures. Thank you. God bless you.
I would like to now call the chairperson of FIDA Kenya, Miss Christine Kungu.
May it please the court, Your Lordship, the Chief Justice, allow me to ride on the protocols already established. This is a tribute to Senior Counsel Judy W. Thongori by FIDA Kenya on behalf of the FIDA Secretariat, the FIDA Board, and the FIDA Kenya members who are also present today. My lady, I wish to associate myself fully with the tributes already given by my colleagues. Today, as the judiciary formally closes the file of Senior Counsel Judy W. Thongori, we at FIDA Kenya celebrate her extraordinary service, her fearless pursuit of justice, and her enduring impact on the legal profession and women's rights in Kenya. Senior Counsel Judy was a trailblazing lawyer, a renowned family law expert, and cherished senior member of our organization, FIDA Kenya. Senior Thongori was our former deputy executive director and a dedicated life member who significantly contributed to the women's rights movement, family law, and promoting access to justice in our beloved country. Senior Counsel Judy served FIDA Kenya diligently in the 1990s and in the early 2000s, which were challenging times for Kenyan women and girls. During her tenure, she played a leading role in positioning the organization as a premier women's rights organization that champions the rights, the interests, and dignity of vulnerable women, children, and the well-being of families. Senior Counsel was passionate about recruiting young members. She was passionate about mentoring young lawyers and inspiring young lawyers that led to many of them joining the Federation of Women Lawyers and achieving career milestone. Many of them are now magistrates. Some of them are judges. Some of them work and serve in different category of public service in Kenya. Senior Counsel Judy was a champion of alternative dispute resolution. At FIDA Kenya, she always advised our clients to seek mediation first before she could take up matters, including family law matters. In the divorce cases, she had a priority in fairness, dignity, and the well-being of all parties. She was instrumental in developing the FIDA Kenya self-representation manual that we use to date to train our clients who are not able to represent themselves in court. While at FIDA, she chiseled her name by studying for the marginalized and prosecuting their cases, even when powerful forces wanted such violations hushed up. Indeed, sometimes the mere mention of Judy Thongori's name sent chills down the spines of many absentee fathers and those accused of battering their wives and children. And we all know that for sure. She was also there to help women and girls and children when they were being disinherited, which is one of the cases that we do in FIDA. Even after transitioning from FIDA Kenya, Senior Counsel Thongori continued to serve and participate in our activities in FIDA as an active senior member. She served as one of our organization's counsel and one of our pro bono lawyers, rendering skilled and professional advice in navigating complex family law legal issues. FIDA Kenya worked closely with Senior Counsel during the development of the Matrimonial Property Act and the Marriage Act, where she took very active and leading roles. Madam Chief Justice, Senior Counsel was a gender champion. Senior Counsel was a feminist at heart and engaged in feminist activism when it was not fashionable to do so in this country. And we know why. At that particular point, the population did not understand or appreciate what feminism entails. But we thank God in 2025, even everyone here, we understand how it's important. And we've seen the members who are even here, most of them FIDA members who are here. It is because of this activism and our work at FIDA Kenya that sustained attacks from a section of society that considered women to be second-rate citizens who are only suitable for rearing children and staying at home. Despite the attacks, and those attacks were many, Senior Counsel was never shaken. She was unbogable. She remained fearless and steadfast. We remember her as a courageous champion of gender equality every day. Senior Counsel's wisdom, strength, and advocacy have not only impacted the organization and countless women and families in Kenya, but has left a mark on the legal profession, inspiring future generations of lawyers. Senior Counsel solidified her legacy as a champion of women and children's rights everywhere she went. Her extraordinary life and mission of ensuring justice for all will forever remain etched in our organization's history. Even as FIDA Kenya marks 40, we will never, ever forget what Senior Counsel has done for us as an organization. Today, sadly, as we close her file, Senior Counsel legacy remains open and alive through the lawyers, the laws that she developed, and all the lives that she touched. In the annals of justice, Senior Counsel Judy Thongori's name will forever stand as a beacon of courage, a beacon of wisdom, and dedication to the vulnerable groups in Kenya. Rest in peace, our Deputy Executive Director. Rest in peace, Senior Counsel. I thank you.
The Honorable Chief Justice, David Sangale was supposed to be here, but he says he was not able to make it and he's watching via Zoom. So on behalf of the family, they're following the proceedings and they're grateful for the tributes that are being shared. I will now like to invite my senior mage to give her tribute on behalf of Dentons.
My Lady, the Chief Justice and the tribute bench, members of the judiciary and my professional colleagues, family members, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Michi Kirimi, a partner at Dentons, Hamilton, Harrison and Matthews, and head of dispute resolution. It is both an honor and a solemn privilege to speak today on behalf of Dentons, Hamilton, Harrison and Matthews, in honor of a man who exemplified the best of our profession, Mr. Kenneth Fraser. Mr. Fraser was first and foremost a lawyer of rare distinction. Over the course of a remarkable legal career spanning over 53 years, he built a reputation not only on his skill and sharp legal mind, but on a steadfast commitment to integrity, fairness, and service. Whether in the courtroom or in the firm's boardroom, Mr. Fraser brought clarity, calm, and conviction. He kept things simple, but stood his ground. But it was never just about the cases. Mr. Fraser believed in the law as a force for good and a tool to uphold justice and to serve the greater good. He was tireless in his efforts to improve the practice of law, as has been recounted by my colleagues before me. Whether through his work on professional committees, his contributions to legal reform discussions, or his quiet but consistent advocacy for access to justice, Mr. Fraser left an indelible mark on the profession. Within the law firm, Mr. Fraser was a towering pillar. The firm is 123 years now. He was part of it for 53. He mentored generations of young lawyers, not just in the technicalities of law, but in the deeper responsibilities of the calling, to act with honor, to speak with integrity, and to lead with humility. Many of us in this room owe a part of our journey to Mr. Fraser's generous counsel and unwavering support. He led not by title, but by example. He showed us that excellence and kindness are not mutually exclusive. He would not shout his achievements on the rooftops, but they were there for all to see. He held a quiet dignity and a decency, supporting everybody who sought his support and counsel. But he did not compromise on his standards and on his integrity. He was a teacher, a leader, and a gentleman. His legacy is not only in the precedents he helped set, but in the people he shaped and inspired. The Kenya law reports are replete with cases that he was involved in. And as we gather here today for the closing of his file, we're reminded that while we symbolically bring Mr. Fraser's professional file to a close, the legacy he leaves behind remains very much alive. In every lawyer he mentored, in every life he touched, and in every principle he stood for, his influence continues. And so on behalf of the firm, I extend our deepest respect and gratitude for a life so well lived and a career that uplifted us all. I thank you.
I'd like to invite Mr. John Thongori to give his tribute on behalf of the family.
To the Honorable Chief Justice and the tribute bench, members of the judiciary, the legal profession, our family and friends, I bring these words of tribute on behalf of our family to join the legal profession in recognizing Judy as a champion of justice and appeal of the community. She had an unwavering dedication and unrelenting passion and unparalleled pursuit of justice and truth. She was dedicated to upholding the law. She inspired countless colleagues, clients, and friends. We, as a family, also were able to see that she had a sharp mind, she had a compassionate heart, and an unwavering commitment to justice. We cherish her memory. It is a blessing to us and to the legal profession, and we share in the loss that has been suffered by the profession. We pay tribute to the remarkable, trailblazing, steadfast championship of the law that she pursued through her tireless work. She upheld the principles of equality, fairness, and human rights, leaving an indelible mark on our legal system and also in our family. So in the few words that I say here, I would like to say that we are also very thankful as a family that you remember her and that you have chosen to invite us to be part of these distinguished proceedings in recognition of our dear Judy Thongori. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Chief Justice and President of the Supreme Court and the presiding bench, my lords and my ladies, when great trees fall, rocks on distant hills shudder, lions hunker down in tall grasses, and even elephants pause in their tracks. We gather here today in solemn remembrance and reverent gratitude, for in the calling of the law, we walk a path that is once lonely and communal, lonely because each advocate must carry the weight of conscience, and communal because it is in that carrying that we leave behind trails for others to follow. Today we close the files of three giants: Senior Counsels Simani Sangale, Senior Counsel Kenneth Fraser, and Senior Counsel Judy Thongori, whose practice, advocacy, and very lives etched pathways that have defined justice in Kenya. As an African proverb reminds us, a river that forgets its source will surely dry up. Today we return to the source, to those who irrigated our jurisprudence, watered the dry grounds of injustice, and bought reservoirs of knowledge, courage, and service. Senior Counsel Simani Sangale was in every sense a man of the courtroom, eloquent in word, measured in tone, and relentless in pursuit of justice. He belonged to that generation of advocates who practiced law as both a craft and a calling. His advocacy was defined not by the volume of his voice, but the precision of his reasoning. Those who worked alongside him remembered his candor and humility. His arguments were never personal. His battles, though fierce, were always honorable. He embodied the truth in Justice Ouko's words, "The advocate is not a mercenary for hire, but a minister of justice." Simani's life teaches us that dignity in advocacy is not a choice, but an obligation. Like a sculptor, he chipped away at the rough edges of injustice to reveal form, balance, and fairness. His service reminds us that the bar is not just a profession, it's a sacred trust. Senior Counsel Simani Sangale was not only a lawyer of eloquence and honor, but also a custodian of heritage, a cultural warrior of the Abatiriki people. He stands in our collective memory as a rare breed of an advocate who straddled two worlds, the courtroom and the council of elders, the common law and the customary law, the pen of the jurists and the voice of the ethnographer. Simani's journey began at a cultural crossroad. He was among the very first initiates under the new Indumi Order of 1944, a fusion of tradition and Christianity pioneered by the venerated elder Nuhu Sakwa. It was there in the sacred grove of Kavunyonje, and I know my senior judge present will correct me if I'm wrong, and I see he's laughing, that young Sangale discerned his calling not only to argue cases in court, but also to preserve rituals, knowledge, and identity of his people in a rapidly changing world. All through the mantle of cultural leadership was traditionally reserved for the firstborn son, the elders saw in him a spark, a curiosity, and a seriousness that could not be ignored. They entrusted him, the thirdborn, with a sacred responsibility. He accepted it with humility, reminding us of the African proverb, "A child who washes his hands will dine with elders." His book, Tiriki Community Customs and Traditions, was born of decades of his interviews with elders, recorded painstakingly in Lutiriki, so that what is lived in oral memory would not die in silence. And I dare say I had the honor of receiving a copy of that book from his widow and his daughters and son. Before Sangale, Tiriki culture had been narrated largely through the lenses of Western anthropologists, most notably Walter H. Sangri. Sangale's contribution was an act of intellectual decolonization. He wrote not as an outsider observing the other, but as a son reclaiming the story of his people. He often remarked that Indumi was not merely circumcision, but the only college that offered induction into various aspects of Tiriki culture. For him, manhood was not a biological event, but a moral transformation, one that demanded toughness, responsibility, and readiness to carry the burdens of society. In his words, if a boy is going to be made into a man, to do his job properly, he has to be toughened to appreciate the challenges he'd face in the administration of his social duties. By his work, he answered the fundamental question, who is a Tiriki? His answer was simple, inclusive, and profound. To be a Tiriki, one must accept Tiriki culture. Culture for him was not bloodline, but belonging, not exclusion, but embrace. And yet he was not a man imprisoned by the past. Rather, he saw tradition as a bridge to the future. As a lawyer, he defended rights within the architecture of the Constitution. As an author, he defended identity with the architecture of memory. In both, he fought against erasure. Thus, in Sangale, we find not only the courtroom craftsman Aile spoke of, but also the cultural archivist, the lawyer who understood that justice is not complete until it also honors the soul of the people. He lived out the wisdom of Chinua Achebe. Until the lion learns how to write, every story will glorify the hunter. Sangale gave Tiriki their own pen, their own record, their own dignity. His file may be closed today, but the cultural and legal manuscripts he left behind will remain open forever. Testaments of a man who refused to let history be written without his people's voice. Senior Counsel Kenneth Allison Fraser was the architect of jurisprudence. His scholarly grasp of the law, his written submissions, and his contribution to the development of commercial and constitutional law remain monumental. Fraser stood for meticulous preparation and intellectual rigor. To him, the law was not a blunt instrument, but a finely tuned instrument, like a violin demanding discipline and yielding harmony only to those who treated it with respect. He embodied the dictum of Justice Kadso. The law, like the traveler, must be ready for the morrow. It must have a principle of growth. Fraser cultivated this growth by shaping doctrine, by mentoring the young, and by ensuring that Kenyan jurisprudence spoke not only to the present, but also to the future. And I must say that my very first time as a young advocate before court, I found myself being told to get ready and pick a very heavy file that was a succession file and to go to court, which was at the Court of Appeal, only to meet face to face with Fraser. I have never been so frightened that particular day. But the beauty he showed grace and kindness in guiding, although we are at the different sides. His character mirrored yet another African proverb. Wisdom is like a baobab tree. No one individual can embrace it. And so Fraser shared it generously with colleagues, with students, and with the profession. Senior Counsel Kenneth Fraser was in many respects the embodiment of discipline, scholarship, and institutional memory within the Kenyan bar. For over 5 decades, his name was synonymous with excellence, mentorship, and the steady shaping of jurisprudence in this country. As head of litigation at Hamilton, Harrison, and Matthews from 1985, I don't know how many were born by then in the side of the bar who are present today. He was not only an advocate for his clients, but also an advocate for the profession itself, ensuring that every case he touched carried with it an imprint of professionalism, diligence, and rigor. His stewardship of the litigation department produced a generation of lawyers who learned under his guidance the value of preparation, the art of advocacy, and the duty of fidelity to court. Many who passed through that farm carry his mark, his discipline, his patience, his insistence that lawyering is as much about integrity as it is about intellect. He mentored scores of advocates who in turn became judges, senior counsel, managing partners, and sought-after advocates and leaders. Many paying tributes aptly note that Fraser helped mentor many lawyers in this country. That legacy of mentorship is perhaps his greatest brief, one that continues to be argued daily in the work of those he trained. But Fraser was more than a mentor. He was also a titan in litigation. He appeared in landmark cases that shaped the practice of law in Kenya, cases that went beyond the fortunes of individual litigants to setting enduring precedents. His pleadings are marked by clarity, his arguments by precision, his demeanor by respect. To borrow from Lord Bingham, the duty of the advocate is to present the client's case as fully and properly as possible, but always within the framework of fairness to the court and administration of justice. Fraser lived this duty to perfection. Colleagues recall that his submissions carried the rare blend of scholarship and practicality, rich in legal history yet sensitive to contemporary realities. He saw litigation not as an arena for mere victory, but as a forum for truth and jurisprudential growth. In that sense, he was, as I earlier noted, an architect who laid brick by brick the edifice of Kenyan law. His career spanning more than 50 years was a masterclass in endurance, excellence, and humility. He was a partner not only in a firm, but also the collective project of justice. Even as the firm transitioned into Denton's Hamilton, Harrison, and Matthews, Fraser remained a beacon of continuity, proof that institutions are sustained not only by name, but by the values of those who inhabit them. An African proverb reminds us, when an old man dies, a library burns to the ground. When Kenneth Fraser, we lose not only a man, but a vast of library, knowledge, practice, and precedent. Yet because he mentored many, this library is not burned down entirely. Rather, its volumes have been distributed across the profession in the judges, the senior advocates, the practitioners, the students whose path he shaped. His file may close today, but his notes remain open in our books of law. His legacy will remain open in the annals of jurisprudence, in the firm he built, and in the advocates he nurtured. Surely not the least of all, Senior Counsel Judy Thongori, a name synonymous with courage, tenacity, and transformation. She chose the terrain of family law, often dismissed as soft law, and turned it into a battlefield for dignity, equality, and justice. In doing so, she lifted the voices of women, the rights of children, and the very soul of the Constitution of Kenya, 2010. Her advocacy in matters of gender equality and matrimonial causes redefined jurisprudence. She was never afraid to say what others whispered, never reluctant to file where others hesitated, never timid to demand justice where culture or silence demanded otherwise. It was Senior Counsel Judy who lived out the wisdom of Wangari Maathai. You cannot protect the environment unless you empower people. You cannot empower people unless you know their rights, and you cannot secure rights unless you demand justice. Judy demanded justice. She lived justice, and she became justice. For the young women advocates who now throng our courts, she was a lighthouse showing that excellence in law knows no gender, that family law is not peripheral, and that one advocate can indeed change the destiny of many families and through them, a nation. Judy Thongori was more than a lawyer. She was a reformer, a path finder, and a force for change in Kenya's legal and social fabric. To speak of her is to speak of resilience, excellence, and courage lived out in full measure. From the start, she carried not only ambition, but also the deep sense of service. Her early years at the Attorney General's chambers and later at Lee Muthoga and Associates honed her skills, but it was her decision to establish her own practice in 2003 that defined her as a pioneer. The firm became a beacon of family law practice, grounded in excellence and compassion. Her expertise as a trained family mediator, certified by the Mediation Accredited Committee of the Judiciary of Kenya, reflected her belief that law is not always about confrontation, but about resolution, healing, and fairness. She reshaped the very perception of family law, elevating it from the margins of practice to the center of justice for women, children, and families. Beyond private practice, Judy was a pillar at the Federation of Women Lawyers. Serving as the Deputy Executive Director and Head of Litigation in those roles, she championed causes that gave voice to the voiceless, offering free legal aid to women and children, organizing training for police officers on handling gender-based violence, and confronting the systematic failures that silence survivors of abuse. Her court victories were not only legal triumphs, but also social revolutions. Judy's hand was evident in law reform. She played a pivotal role in drafting and advocating for the Marriage Now Act, reshaping the frame for family relations in Kenya. She advanced the two-thirds gender principle, ensuring that constitutional promises of equity were not empty words, but living commitments. In matters of property division, child welfare, and gender equity, she set precedents that will echo for generations. Her stature in the profession was unmatched. She was the first woman lawyer in Kenya inducted to the prestigious Law Society of Kenya Roll of Honor, a recognition of her outstanding contributions and her place as a trailblazer. As one colleague aptly said, she was a North Star in the legal profession, constant, guiding, and inspirational. Her influence reached beyond the bar and the bench. In 2023, following the tragedy of Shakahola Forest Massacre, she was appointed to the Task Force on the Regulation of Religious Organization. which spoke to her integrity, wisdom, and trustworthiness as a jurist who could confront national challenges with sobriety and balance. Her life was a mosaic of victories, not only for herself, but for others. She believed that lifting others was a duty. She mentored countless young advocates, especially women, teaching them that the law was not just a career, but a calling, and not just about winning cases, but about changing lives. She exemplified the African proverb, a candle loses nothing by lighting another. In lighting others, Judy illuminated the path for an entire generation. Indeed, Senior Counsel Judy Thongori it's not just about her, it's about the women who found justice because she stood up for them, the children whose futures were secured because she fought for their rights, and the young advocates who now stand taller because she mentored them. Her legacy is best summed up in the words of Wangari Maathai. The higher you go, the wider the view. Judy rose high, and from that vantage point, she widened the horizon of justice for Kenya. She lives beyond jurisprudence that is fairer, a profession that is more inclusive, and a society more aware that equality is not negotiable. Though her file closes today, her story remains forever open, a testament that law, when wielded with courage and compassion, can heal, protect, and transform. Together, these three senior counsel represent the three strands of the advocate's calling. Senior Counsel Sangale, the craftsman of courtroom dignity, Senior Counsel Fraser, the scholar and the architect of jurisprudence, and Senior Counsel Thongori, the courageous reformer who turned personal battles into public victories. In their different parts, they embodied what Lord Denning once said of advocates. As a Minister of Justice, an advocate has a duty to the client, to the court, to the public, and above all, to the cause of justice itself. Their files may close, but their legacies remain open chapters in the book of Kenyan law. Their memories are not written in ink, but in precedent, not in stone, but in the hearts of those who believe that justice, though often delayed, is never denied to those who insist upon it. My lords, my ladies, an Akan proverb teaches, the good deed of the day is not buried in the ground. Today we close these files not to bury, but to lift, and to lift memories, lessons, and legacies. And so with solemn reverence, the Law Society of Kenya bows before this honorable bench. We salute Senior Counsel Sangale, Senior Counsel Fraser, and Senior Counsel Thongori. We thank them for giving us rivers to drink from, trees to rest under, and paths to follow. May their journey in eternity be as dignified as their service on earth. I so humbly submit in support of the Office of the Attorney General's submissions. I so thank you.
We also recognize the family of Mr. Simani who are not able to join us physically, but they are joining us online. I now want to invite Mr. Mutinda on behalf of the Attorney General to make his closing remarks and to apply for these orders, for the orders marking the proceedings a permanent record of the court.
Thank you, Your Ladyship, and members of the presiding bench. Your Ladyship and members of the bench, we have this afternoon heard the befitting tributes paid by all the distinguished speakers in honor of the late Simani Sangale, Kenneth Allison Fraser, and Judy Thongori, Senior Counsel. As we move to close the files of the three Senior Counsel, it is now my humble duty for and on behalf of the Honorable the Attorney General to make an application and to request Your Ladyship and members of this tribute bench, one, that the special tribute proceedings of this afternoon be made a permanent record of this court. 2, further, and if it pleases the court, that certified copies of these proceedings be availed to the families of the late Simani Sangale, Senior Counsel, Kenneth Allison Fraser, Senior Counsel, and Judy Thongori, Senior Counsel, as well as copies be availed to the Supreme Court Archives, the High Court, and the Law Society of Kenya, so that the proper record and history of the legal career and times of our beloved Senior Counsel may be preserved. Lastly, Your Ladyship and members of the bench, I pray that this being a matter of professional and public interest, that there shall be no orders as to costs. Much obliged, Your Ladyship.
Thank you very much, Counsel. Before we make the final order, I also wish to make my address by recognizing in a very, very special way the families of our departed Senior Counsel, my colleagues, judges, magistrates, registrars, members of the bench and the bar. A very good afternoon to you all. We gather today with acts that carry both the weight of loss and also remembrance. This closing of fire ceremony is not just a solemn and symbolic occasion. It is one that reminds us that while every life must come to its natural close, the legacy of a life well lived endures by shaping those left behind and inspiring generations to come. Today we pause to honor and give thanks for the lives and service of 3 remarkable advocates who have aptly been described as champions of the law, the trailblazers who left an indelible legacy. Senior Counsel Kenneth Harrison Fraser, Senior Counsel Simani Sangare, and Senior Counsel Judy Thongori. These colleagues represent the highest ideals of our profession: excellence in the law, courage in advocacy, humility in service, and generosity in mentorship. In closing their files today, we do not erase their great work. Rather, we affirm that their labor was fulfilled. Their service is accomplished, and their influence will live forever, influencing even generations to come. Speaking about Kenneth Harrison Fraser, Senior Counsel, his name is etched indelibly into the annals of our legal tradition. He embodied the very finest of the advocate's calling: scholarly in his mastery of the law, courageous in his advocacy, and principled in his service to justice. As lead counsel in landmark cases, he helped shape the contours of the Kenyan law and practice, yet his legacy reaches far and beyond case law. It lives in the standards he set, the colleagues he inspired, and the generations of lawyers and others that he mentored. He gave his wisdom and time to developing practice directions in the commercial division of the High Court and I confirm that I sat in the bar bench committee of the Court of Appeal that developed the practice guidelines in the civil appeals. I also want to confirm we did this with Senior Counsel Kevin McCourt and Senior Counsel Mr. Gashuhi, and to confirm also that the Court Users Committee that Ken Fraser started 30 years ago at the Hond Sharia House with Honorable Justice Okwengu endures even today. It has become an institution of our courts to always have a court user committee that represents lawyers and other stakeholders who help the court in the administration of justice. So Ken offered his vast experience in the bar bench committees of both courts. He tirelessly sought ways to make justice timely and fair. Even more memorably, he trained and mentored generations of advocates, many of whom today occupy prominent places in our legal profession. May his quiet dignity, intellectual rigor, and generosity in spirit live on. Let me pay tribute to Senior Counsel Simani Sangare. In remembering him, we honor one of the pillars of the legal profession's history. As the second chairperson of the Law Society of Kenya between 1975 and 1976, one of the very indigenous sons of the soil who took up the leadership of the Law Society, he helped set the course for an institute he ran at a time when the profession was still finding its identity, and he left the Law Society stronger, more principled, with more clarity of its purpose and more resilient. But Senior Counsel Simani was more than a leader to the bar. He was a lawyer of keen intellect and steady judgment, respected by colleagues and judges alike. He was also a man of wide-ranging curiosity. With a deep interest in ethnography, he believed that to serve the people well, one must understand their traditions, their cultures, and their ways of life. And in this way, he gave us an example of a lawyer who saw law, not in isolation, but as deeply connected with society. The life of Senior Counsel Simani reminds us that justice must be rooted in both principle and humanity. Speaking about Senior Counsel Judy Thongori, we celebrate a trailblazer whose work forever transformed family law in Kenya. I was honored to be present yesterday at an international conference by the International Academy of Family Lawyers who celebrated Judy Thongori. These are lawyers, academicians, practitioners from all over the world who converged to give, to celebrate and recognize the wide-ranging influence Senior Counsel Judy Thongori made in developing and raising standards in family law. Judy was instrumental in shaping the law that gave protection to women, children, and vulnerable groups. But beyond the laws, she helped craft and carry a profound conviction that the family is the cornerstone of our society. And when families fracture, the entire society feels the strain. She believed that family conflicts were not something to be ignored, but something that every serious society needed to invest in resolving with compassion, efficiency, and dignity. Therefore, Judy championed mediation and restorative approaches, reminding us that the aim of family law is not only to resolve disputes, but also to preserve relationships and to nurture harmony within the family and the community. Judy brought to the profession both firmness of principle and tenderness of spirit, a combination that left a deep and lasting mark in the legal profession and beyond. In conclusion, dear family, friends, and colleagues, today we close these 3 files, but we do not close our memories of the outstanding contribution that they made to the legal profession and to the society generally. What we are doing is to lay down the symbols of cases argued, attended, and briefs written. However, what remains are the lives influenced, the institutions strengthened, and the society enriched. We will celebrate that legacy forever. To the families of Ken Fraser, Senior Counsel Simani, Senior Counsel Judy Thongori, on my behalf and on behalf of the judiciary, I extend our heartfelt gratitude and deepest sympathies for lending this wonderful counsel to us. You shared them with us, and in doing so, you allowed them to shape our law and our nation. Their absence leaves us poorer, but their legacies will endure forever and leave us richer. As the bar and the bench, the greatest tribute we can offer is to continue in the path our colleagues illuminated, to uphold integrity, to nurture the next generation through mentorship, to insist on fairness, and to serve society with humility and courage. I want to join all the speakers to give thanks to God for the gift of their lives. May their souls rest in eternal peace, and may their memories inspire us to carry forward the torch of justice which they lighted, and may the emblems of fire which they have left continue shining with the same devotion and dignity that they so nobly displayed. Thank you, and God bless you. I will now request the Honorable the Justice Grace Kenye, Court of Appeal Judge, to read the ruling of the court and the final orders. The court tribute bench has signed the 3 rulings and orders.
Thank you, my lady, the Chief Justice. This is the ruling of the court. Upon considering the application by the Honorable the Attorney General and the submissions made in form of tributes in honor of the late Senior Counsel Simani Singale, the late Senior Counsel Kenneth Allison Fraser, and the late Senior Counsel Judith Thongori, the court finds merit in the application. Accordingly, we hereby direct as follows. 1, that these special proceedings be and are hereby adopted as a permanent record of this court. Number 2, the certified copies of proceedings together with the written tribute shared by the various speakers be availed to the family of the late Senior Counsel Simani Singale, Senior Counsel Kenneth Allison Fraser, Senior Counsel Judith Thongori, the Supreme Court Archives, all High Court Archives, and the Law Society of Kenya. Finally, this being a matter of great professional and public interest, there shall be no orders as to costs. Orders accordingly.
Thank you so much, Chief Justice and the presiding bench. May I now, with humility, request the Honorable Chief Justice to come down and hand over the mementos to the families of the late Senior Counsel. I'll start with the family of the late Senior Counsel Simani Sangale, and may I request the former Attorney General, Senior Counsel Amos Wako, to receive the mementos on behalf of the family. And the next. The next family is the representative of the family of the late Senior Counsel, Kenneth Fraser, the Dentos family. And finally, I will request the family of the late Senior Counsel, Judith Thongori, to come forward and receive the mementos. Thank you, Honorable CJ. You can kindly take your seat. And thank you, Honorable CJ and the tribute bench for presiding over the special sitting in honor of the late Senior Counsel. And this being a special sitting, I will now invite the following persons to give a vote of thanks on behalf of the council, on behalf of the senior bar, and on behalf of the families. I will start with Mwaura Kabata to give a vote of thanks on behalf of LSK.
the Honorable Chief Justice and the tribute bench, allow me to take 1 minute to give a vote of thanks on behalf of the Law Society of Kenya and as well as the organizing committee. My name is Maura Kabata, LSK Vice President, and I was warned by the young, energetic group of lawyers behind the senior counsels that if I do not recognize them, then I will have to take a seat on this side when I go back to sit. I fear them as well as I respect them. May it please this Honorable Court, Honorable Chief Justice, esteemed justices, family members of our departed, beloved members, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is both a privilege and an honor to stand before you this afternoon. Your presence here, especially you, Madam CJ, underscores the significance of this occasion. Allow me to now place reliance on a letter that Abraham in 1864 after learning that, and this is what he said. He said, "Dear Madam Lydia Bixby, I have been shown in the files of the War Department a statement of the Adjutant General of Massachusetts that you are the mother of 5 sons who have died gloriously on the fields of battle. I feel how weak and fruitless must be any word of mine which should attempt to beguile you from the grief of a loss so overwhelming. But I cannot refrain from tendering you the consolation that may be found in the thanks of the Republic they died to save. I pray that our Heavenly Father may assuage the anguish of your bereavement and lead you only the cherished memories of the loved, now lost, in the solemn pride that must be yours to have laid a price so costly upon the altar of freedom. Yours very sincerely and respectfully, Abraham Lincoln." Jaji mkuu na majaji wenzako, nichukue fursa hii kupeperusha risala zangu za kumbukumbu kwa mawakili watatu tajika ambao tumefunga faili zao hivi leo. Pia nichukue fursa hii kukushukuru wewe jaji mkuu kwa dhati kwa kikao hichi adhimu na azizi. Pia kukubali maombi ya mwakilishi wa mwanasheria mkuu kufunga faili hizi tatu, na pia kwa kubuni kamati niliyomo ndani kama mwenyekiti mwenza wa Mheshimiwa Letizia Wachira na wanakamati wote waliowezesha na kutayarisha ratiba na kipindi hiki cha heshima. Shukuru baraza la mawakili tajika na mawakili wote waliokuja mbele ya koti hii spesheli, ikiwemo leo ni Ijumaa, mawakili wengi huwa hawavai suti, bila kusahau familia za wenda zao, mawakili wetu tajika, jamaa na marafiki. Mwenyezi Mungu Rahim awazidishie amani na kumbukumbu za wapendwa wenu na wetu. Kama naibu wa Law Society of Kenya, tunazidi kuwaombea ukakamavu familia zote tatu, upendo, amani na maelewano. Mwenyezi Mungu azidi kuwabariki na kuwapa neema nyote mliohudhuria kesi hizi tatu jumuika. Wakatabahu. Asanteni sana.
Thank you, Mr. Kabata. I will now call upon Mr. John Thongori to give a vote of thanks on behalf of the 3 families.
My Lady Chief Justice and the Tribute Bar, on behalf of the families of Senior Counsel Simani Sangale, Kenneth Fraser, and Judy Thongori, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who has gathered to pay tribute to their memory. To the Chief Justice, the Judiciary, the Senior Counsel Bar, the Law Society of Kenya, other distinguished speakers, colleagues, and friends, thank you for coming together to celebrate their lives, legacy, and contributions to the legal profession. Your presence here today means a great deal to us, and we are touched by the kind words, fond memories, and recollections of their work that has been shared. We appreciate the efforts made to honor their memory and acknowledge the impact they have had on the lives of those they touched, including their clients, colleagues, and the community at large. May the memories we have shared today bring comfort and strength to all of us. And may the legacies of our loved ones continue to inspire and motivate all of us to uphold the values of justice, integrity, compassion that they embodied. Thank you again for your support, sympathy, and celebration of their lives.
Thank you, John. And finally, let's have Senior Counsel Charles Kajama to give a vote of thanks on behalf of the Senior Counsel Bar.
Honorable Chief Justice and the members of the tribute bench, Senior Counsel, other lawyers present, other judicial officers, families present, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. This is a formal court proceeding, and I think you've noticed we've all been very quiet, listening silently. We have not clapped or applauded because it is court proceedings. However, as the last speaker, the vote of thanks, and because we have formally received the orders from the tribute bench, I'll request in this vote of thanks that you join me in, first of all, applauding the 3 senior counsel whose files we are closing today. There have been 4 cohorts of senior counsel admitted, too few, many more to come in the days, months, and years ahead. Simani Sangale, senior counsel, the late, is from the first cohort that was admitted in 2003. Ken Fraser, senior counsel, the late, is from the second cohort that was admitted in 2013. And Judy Thongori, senior counsel, the late, is from the third cohort that was admitted in 2020. Those senior counsel who are present, who have shown with their presence and participation, both those physically present, virtually present, who have graced this occasion, we want to also appreciate them with a round of applause. You are wondering where the 4th cohort is. I am here standing before you from the 4th cohort. When we were admitted in a ceremony by the Chief Justice a few years ago, I remember there was emphasis on the fact that the office of the advocate of senior counsel is one that requires especially participation in continued mentorship, excellence in the legal profession, service to the bar and to the profession. For those lawyers who are present, are not just senior counsel, but other advocates who through their conduct have demonstrated that they are practicing an honorable profession. Those who have joined us here, we also want to give a round of applause. The journey to seek and attain justice for Kenyans and for those who approach the altar or the shrine of justice cannot be achieved by the lawyer alone. Indeed, the lawyer's job is as a servant in a process in which the final determinant is the judicial officer or the judge with the assistance of the judicial staff. And so we are very proud today that the bench has joined us, the tribute bench, the other judges who are present in our midst, the other judicial officers who have graced this occasion and presided or participated in it. We give you our utmost thanks. Another round of applause, please. For the families who are present, who gave us the deceased to be part of our profession and the legacy that they have left us. For the other members of the public who are following, both here physically and virtually, we also want to share our profound and utmost thanks to you for participating in this whole journey. I think we are all inspired by the tributes and the words we have heard of these 3. I think each of us here is going to live with a personal lesson, if not a resolution, to strive for excellence or for mentorship or for service, yet more, or in an additional way to what we've been doing. So we give thanks to everyone else who's been present. The preamble of the Constitution of Kenya begins by acknowledging the supremacy of the Almighty God of all creation and finishes with that phrase, God bless Kenya. And as we come to the end of this session and this ceremony, as we give thanks to everyone, we remember the Almighty God who we recognize as a king, as a prophet, as a lawgiver, and as the ultimate judge. We who are in the legal profession are inspired by the divine ordering of nature as we order the world around us. And for the gift of life, for the gift of family, for the gift of faith, for the gift of one another, even for the gift of the effort and the strength we have to carry out this noble profession, this honorable profession, to come together to seek justice for one another. We thank our Almighty God. And I request, as I conclude, that we give our warmest round of applause to God, who watches over us and gives us a gift of life day after day. God bless our country. God bless the legal profession. God bless the deceased senior counsel. God bless all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Senior Counsel Kajama. Honorable CJ, kindly allow me to make an announcement. Immediately after this, we'll take a few photos. So I will request that the presiding bench, the Chief Justice and the presiding bench, the Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, the Deputy Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, the three families, all the judges present, judicial officers, the Honorable Attorney General, the ODPP, and the leadership of LSK do exit using this door. We'll take the photos at the staircase. The DPAC will guide us on how we'll take the photos. I hope I did not leave out Senior Counsel. Please join the photos. And now I request that we all arise and end the session. Please join the CJ for the photos. Let's use this door so that we move faster. Deepak. Wacha